Well, good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of Friday Morning Live. My name is Dave Newell, and I want to welcome everybody this morning. It's April 24th, 2026, and we're excited you're here with our friend Nolan Duda of IdealTraits. We'll introduce Nolan in just a sec, but I want to go through some housekeeping items as we do every week on Friday Morning Live. Um, First of all, that's your host. There's Nolan, and we'll get him on here in just a sec. Just a reminder, education. If you need some CE over the next few weeks, certainly take a look at our education page under Education Member Benefit, and there you will see upcoming webinars. For a member of the association, you get 10 hours of web-based learning each year. So if you need something on personal lines or WinMit, because you know the new WinMit form is out. It was adopted beginning April the 1st, and Greg Thomas does a great job kind of explaining some of the changes, or the 4-hour law and update class. So plenty to choose from, like I say, up to 10 hours, and take a look at that calendar. And then additionally, for those that are securing or like to find out a little bit more about the AIM designation, Jeff Odom is in the midst of his spring calendar of classes, and you see those sprinkled throughout the month of May. So, but there's plenty other options there, but it's all web-based learning. And so take a look at that calendar under the education tab on the website. Next up, just a reminder, folks, if you've not registered for our annual convention, please get online today and do so. We are in the Gaylord this year, June 17th through the 19th. It is going to be a very active convention. The exhibit hall is completely sold out. We've got plenty of breakout sessions that we've been talking about, and if you follow us on social media, some of the instructors have done videos, and so you can see kind of what the classes are about. But encourage you to register today for our annual convention in Orlando at the Gaylord. So let us know if you have any questions on that. But again, just a reminder of what's going on in the future. And then, next up, next Friday, May 1st, we'll have our friends from Flood Risk Solutions on talking about flood. And as we enter into hurricane season, we'll certainly talking about hurricane preparedness and some of the things that we have here at the association to help you prepare for the upcoming hurricane season. So with that in mind, let's bring our friend Nolan Duda in to the
What's
fold.
going on, Dave?
There he is. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh man, I'm blessed to be here. I'm thankful you all for having me. So thank you.
Well, we appreciate you. I know it was a late night or early morning when you got back into town, so we appreciate you getting up with us this morning. So before we jump into some questions, and again, folks, if you have questions for Nolan, please post them in the question pane and we'll get to them. But let's just kick this thing off, Nolan. You've been a partner with FAI Member Services, or FMS, for a few years now. You've been around the Big I. Many on this call, or at least some of the staff that are on this call, have met you at different events. You've been at FAI's convention that we just mentioned. But just tell us a little bit about IdealTraits and how you relate to independent agents.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And I'm looking at the headshot. I need to update that. That hair's a little ridiculous. That was back.
All right, well, send us a new picture.
Yeah, we'll get a new one. But all kidding aside, back to Dave's previous question. So IdealTraits, if you've heard of us before, great. If you haven't, we are the preferred hiring resource for the Big I. So we are proud to say that we've been closely affiliated with the FAIA for many years. And I tell you what, one of the events that I always circle on my calendar is the FAIA convention that's coming up in a couple of months. So probably about a month and a half now. So certainly look forward to obviously having our team attend that again this year. But what we do for all of you is At Ideal Traits, every single day, what we focus on is helping insurance agencies with the largest issue that they have each and every day, which is, quite frankly, staffing and recruiting. So it's sort of a double-edged sword, because with staffing, it probably is the most expensive thing. Oftentimes when you talk to a business owner, the most expensive thing on their, I suppose, item sheet is going to be payroll. But then it also can create the greatest return on investment for you, because everyone on this call has probably experienced one time or another, and hopefully is experiencing it today, is that having good qualified people on your staff create, obviously, the engine that makes our businesses run. So again, it's the most delicate thing. It's the hardest thing. One of my favorite quotes to, I guess, associate with staffing and recruiting is, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, when are you going to have time to do it again? It's so hard to get it right. So it's about, making sure that you have the correct things in place to really execute the first time, which is what Ideal Traits is looking to help you with. We are a 4-in-1 hiring solution. So the easiest way for me to sum it up, without, I suppose, going down a long list of a bunch of different features, is we can help you with everything from creating your job ads and getting them to the places where they, quite frankly, need to be in today's day and age, all the way to the end of the process, which would include sending out, offer letters and background checks if you find that to be necessary or if it's required. So everything in between, from helping you source, communicate, automate, as well as qualify candidates, we can help you do. I don't know if I have access to some sort of chat, but I'm sure we'll get it sent out at some point. But while you're at your computer, if you want to pull up just idealtraits.com/FAIA, you can go ahead and run through that page, which will show you a gamut of resources that we provide you to as well. So, Dave, hopefully that summarizes it up well enough, and I'm happy to expand.
It does. Well, Nolan, let's also talk about, since you're talking to Florida agents, right? You're coming from Michigan, but you have a team here in Florida, and I want to really expand upon that. Talk about your team that's here on the ground, boots on the ground, which a lot of our members like to hear. Anybody that does business in Florida, they like to see a presence here in the state, whether it's a carrier or a partner like Ideal Traits. So talk a little bit about your team that's here in Florida.
Yeah, no, happy to. So we have, Ideal Traits, we are lucky enough to be a fully remote company. So we've got people in all different parts of the country, which certainly helps us relate to folks like yourself, right? That, I'm in Michigan. I've been a lifelong Michigander. Call me crazy for enduring 27 Michigan winters to this point. But we do have folks that are in Florida. The owner of our company, Kevin Molnaric, who was an insurance agent for many years, including when he had started Ideal Traits. He lives in Marco Island, Florida, so I have some representation there. We have some folks in St. Pete, Orlando, and then also on the Daytona side too as well. So we're well scattered throughout the state. Dave's been trying to get me to move to Tallahassee for a long time, so I might have to put that on the agenda item here soon. But again, no, we, again, having that relation to you all, sort of understanding the market, it's no surprise that the Florida insurance market is unique, right? So making sure that, we have folks that understand that, not only from an insurance aspect, but then also can help you out with the hiring side too as well, right? So talking about, 220 and 440 licenses, sort of the restrictions that you have or don't have with remote hiring, we want our team to be the experts in the room when you're sitting down with them. So then ultimately you can just have complete confidence in them and the recommendations that they're giving you, that you have landed into the right spot, that you're at the right place, that the person that you're talking to can help you. Again, hiring is so difficult. We want to help you get it right the first time. And our goal when you come to us is to help you with your immediate need, whether that's finding, commercial CSR or, personal line CSR, or maybe, a producer on really either side there too as well. We want to help you with that immediate need, but then also what we want to do is help you build a long-term recruiting strategy that, again, you can be confident in as time goes on. So we've got a lot of tenured staff in the state of Florida. I think out of those sort of 4 that I mentioned, the lowest tenured person is just about 2 years. So, again, these folks have helped so many people all throughout the country, but then also can relate to specifically you in Florida. So I appreciate you mentioning that, Dave, and allowing me to provide that clarity for sure.
Well, that's good. So at least some of them have been through at least a couple hurricane seasons. So that's what you're telling us, right? So they're now Floridians, and they're doing it like the rest of us. So hey, just and I'll get into this. We just had a board meeting in Orlando last week, and workforce was a very hot topic in our board meeting. But before we talk about that, just give us kind of your view of what you're hearing and what you're seeing, the landscape of the jobs, the types of jobs that are coming online with the ongoing retirements and consolidation. Let's face it, some of the consolidation is causing some disruption as well, but certainly many are in the mode of retirement age, right? And so they're looking to exit, and we have to find ways to build that bench and fill those spots. So what are you seeing? You know, again, you're a national company, but if you can talk nationally, and then maybe if you've got some points about Florida, what your thoughts are there for independent agents.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you sort of look at I'll call it more sort of the hiring reality, if you will, right? And we'll sort of look at it, as Dave had mentioned, at a national level first, and then sort of drill down to Florida. But when you look at the insurance industry specifically, and you kind of look at the unemployment rate, it's probably hovering around like 1.5 to 2%. Which is, again, pretty low, right? So what this means for you, obviously we all know that in the state of insurance that you need to have a license in most positions. So what this means for you is that most of the qualified candidates already have jobs. So then you're sort of forced to be a little bit creative and understand sort of what's going to get candidates to go from one spot to another. Could be relocation, could be some flexibility, or of course always an increase in compensation. But that isn't necessarily always the answer. But then it also runs you the risk of, okay, am I just getting the candidates that didn't work out at another agency and recycling that time over again? Because we look at the unemployment rate, again, hovering around that 1.5 to 2% in the insurance industry, and we look at turnover, and that has increased from about 8 to 9% to 12 to 15, right? So there's probably multiple different factors that could attribute to that, but the biggest crisis, in my opinion, is going to be that retiring. They have a massive talent gap, and those numbers sort of speak for themselves. And then you have about 400,000 workers that are going to be retiring soon with, again, a low unemployment rate. So those folks are leaving their positions, but they're not re-entering the workforce, hence obviously the retirement part of it. So there's, thousands and thousands of jobs. It doesn't necessarily come down to a candidate shortage. It more, in my opinion, comes down to a talent shortage, because as you can see, if you sort of read between the lines with those statistics, you as an agency owner, you're hiring people, right? But you're turning them over at about 4 to 5 more percent. And that doesn't seem like a big difference, but when you consider that at a national level, it can become huge, right? So Dave, hopefully that provides at least a good entry point there.
Yeah, it does. And so I'm just going to give you a little background, and certainly the people on the call today. So we had a board meeting last week. Workforce was a topic before the board of how we were going to support our universities and state colleges, which we've done in the past. FSU has always been at one point where they were the only risk management school in Florida. Now we have the University of South Florida that has a program that's up and running. And then hopefully this fall, the University of Central Florida in Orlando will have a undergraduate program in risk management. We're already in 11 state colleges, and many of you may have followed, but FAI was a big advocate and helped pass a bill this year to put an insurance course in high schools. And when they complete that course throughout the semester, they come out the other side with a 440 license. We're waiting on the governor to sign that into law. We're working with the Department of Financial Services and the Department of Education to build that curriculum. where school districts can adopt that course within the high schools. And again, to Nolan's point, we're trying to create more opportunities and candidates, because the ones that are shifting, as you said, Nolan, from one agency to another agency, or one carrier to another carrier, or one broker to another broker, all we're doing is just rearranging the deck chairs, right? And we've got to bring more viable candidates into the fold. And we're thinking having the ability for high school students to be exposed to an insurance career. And if it makes sense that they go on to college, great. If not, they have their license and they go work in an independent agent's office. So we're hoping that will drive some more folks to our industry, and at least look our way and see the opportunities available to them in this industry, Nolan. So are there other places around the country that you deal with that are focused on into the high school level, like this?
I think that is something that a lot of folks are becoming more attuned to, if that makes sense. But I think obviously the support that you all are providing is fantastic, right? Because I mean, there isn't necessarily, and I say this a lot, and it may seem a little harsh, there isn't necessarily like one silver bullet that's going to solve this issue overnight,
Exactly.
right? It's going to be, you know, and keep in mind too, like some of this is perpetuated from a good problem, because the Florida insurance market is growing, but with that growth, the workforce growth just hasn't been able to keep up, right? So that is a little bit of a good news, because the market is growing. It's just the workforce just isn't keeping up. So obviously the work that FAIA is doing to be able to help you get in front of more qualified candidates is good. But I mean, everyone on this call knows too, just because someone has an insurance license, doesn't make them necessarily a good fit for you, because what Dave's looking for from a, I suppose, talent situation is different than what I may be looking for, depending on what we, have our producers or our CSRs do on a daily basis. So, really I suppose the point here is that you have individuals and associations and organizations like the FAIA who are thinking outside of the box and doing things uniquely to help you solve this problem. But at the end of the day, what is probably the most important that should be stressed when leaving, I suppose, this call here today, is you do not have time to wait. Because if you wait, it's just going to continue to get worse and bigger for you, right? There could be a point, in the next several months or the next couple of years to where, we see the talent crisis sort of slow down. But I think that, Dave, you and I have been talking about that for a couple of years now, right?
Yep.
So again, the point today should be you do not have time to waste here. It isn't necessarily me telling you need to pay more. You need to hire people remotely. I don't necessarily think that those things are absolutes or 100% true. So I don't want you to leave this call with that impression. I would say it's more of you need to get into the game. And if you're already in it, that's where we can help you with sort of, altering your strategy to where, we can take a look at what you're doing today and where we can improve, if anything. But the worst thing that could happen is we're able to chat with you individually to understand your unique situation, to maybe give you some advice. That's the worst thing that would happen. So, I mean, again, in Florida, to no one's surprise, right? You can put, shocking news in front of this one. There's more open roles than there are qualified candidates. As simple as that. So you're competing against so many different people. So what's important when it comes down to that? And ultimately, it comes down to speed is the number one thing, right? So if you take a look at your situation, it's incredibly important for one, you have a plan, right? So you know what you're looking for, you know how you're going to make it happen. And then with that plan, you stick to it. And when I say sticking to it, I mean that when you begin your day, one of the main priorities, if not the largest priority that you have, is hiring on new talent. And again, I understand that some of you may be already doing this, but a good reminder nonetheless. So again, the number one priority for you is hiring on good qualified talent. As a business owner, what can I do to, in the next year, to grossly improve my business the most? It's going to be finding good qualified people, right? So you can spend time redoing your website, or, you know, all of the various things that probably also need to be done within your organization. But the number one thing that's going to have the most impact that you can invest into over the course of this next year is going to be investing into your hiring process. And then also, of all the things that you could do within your office today, it will create you the biggest return on investment, with the caveat of it being done correctly. So that's why I'm, I suppose, being so strong and so firm on making sure that you dedicate the time, because I promise you, after about 7 years of working with insurance agents throughout the day, one of the major things that I see is that people will reach out to us. They're really excited to get started. And then they, you know, a week later, they get distracted, and then their hiring gets put on the back burner. This happens all too often. Yes, hiring is frustrating. Yes, hiring costs money up front, but I promise you, and some of you, again, you have spitting images of this in your office today. Think of your best producer or your best CSR. It's like, man, I wish I had 10 more of these people. This would make this a lot easier. And of course, yes, it would. And it's, you know, probably unreasonable to think that you're going to find an exact carbon copy of that person, but you need to sort of have that expectation, and you need to not compromise, and then the time needs to be put into it. Because I promise you, from my vantage point, the number one killer of people finding good qualified talent is just losing track of the plan. So
Yeah, that's a great point, because I think we all get involved in our days, right? And things happen, and a crisis happens, or a new account comes in, or something happens within the office from a strategy standpoint, or a staffing issue, and so and that seems to always get pushed along on the back burner, as you said. I'm curious, Nolan, as you talk to owners and you talk to prospective
yeah.
agencies looking to use your services, are there some skills or some criteria that are common among, whether it's a producer and or an account manager, that you're hearing that maybe some have them or some are lacking? Do you hear any common themes in that regard?
Yeah. So great question. One of the main components that IdealTraits provides, to sort of provide some context here, is we provide our clients with unlimited DISC assessments. So they are insurance specific, which relates directly to you. And the reason why I give you that context is because I, as many of the folks that we have here at IdealTraits, are massive believers that personality is the most important thing. Because again, the folks that are on this call, there's probably nobody better for your agency respectively to help someone learn the industry and get established than you are, right? Because again, you're going to teach the good habits that you want to see within your organization, and you're going to refrain from teaching them the bad ones that, you know, they might learn elsewhere, right? It's a very common thing that a lot of people talk about is, hey, if I find licensed talent, I'm going to find a bunch of people with bad habits. This is certainly a con to hiring someone who has an established license. So to that point, again, I am a massive believer in personality matters. So I also believe, as an extension to that, and this is sort of me speaking from my own perspective, that there are certain innate characteristics that salespeople have that make them superstars at the role. Okay, now the important distinction here is superstar versus qualified employee, right? Because I like to think of it as this. So if you're sort of at your desk, if you can envision a triangle, and I learned this from one of my good agent friends who lives in Georgia. But if you could envision a triangle, there's three sides to that triangle, of course. One of them is going to be reliability, one of the things in the triangle. On the other side, it's going to be if they're good at their job, so basically performance. And then the last one on the bottom is going to be, are they enjoyable to work with? Now, I've talked a lot about sort of the superstars that you have in your organization today. Those people really have those three characteristics. They are very reliable, they are very proficient at their job, and they are very enjoyable to work with. Too many times what will happen is we will hire someone who may be proficient at their job and reliable, but they're not enjoyable to work with. Probably all have an example of that a time or two. And what ultimately happens to that individual is they either leave the organization, or they get fired, or Worst case scenario is they force other people to leave your organization because that toxic behavior is sort of grown and has started to obviously reap effects. So my recommendation to you is that, you know, your expectation should be to hopefully find somebody that is either reliable and enjoyable to work with or proficient and enjoyable, right? Like that is the lowest bar. And then of course the superstars that you can find really meet all three of those criteria. Because if you can find somebody who's really good at selling insurance for your office and is really enjoyable to work with, but maybe sometimes they show up a couple minutes late, or maybe their paperwork isn't filled out on time and they just need support with that, I think that you'd be okay with that. And then in addition to that, if they're reliable, let's talk more about a CSR in this aspect. They're incredibly reliable. They show up. Their work gets done when you need it to be done. If you give them a task, you can, again, use the same word, rely on them to get it done. And of course, they're enjoyable to work with. Those are generally the employees that we will find, right? It's very hard to find somebody who has all three, which again, circling back to my original point that I spoke with such, I suppose, passion on, is that they are so hard to find. So you need to invest time into making that happen. And to sort of add this in too as well, like IdealTraits, I have some bias here. We're a great platform. We help thousands of clients across the country. So many hires have come through our platform. So it is a great option for you, but it isn't the end all be all. Like there are some other really good options out there for you. And I think it's important for you to, you know, survey what works best for you. And I'm confident in you, I suppose, ending at the original resolution, which is that IdealTraits is going to be your ultimate choice. But to that point too as well, I'm in the game of helping you hire someone, whether that's through our platform or not, great, right? So if, again, anything you take away from this call is that you need to find people that are enjoyable to work with, because if you don't hit that number one criteria, they're not going to last at your office no matter how good they are. And if they do last, they're probably going to end up pushing other people away, which is then just going to circumvent your problem of still needing to fill chairs in your organization, right? So the first criteria is find somebody that's enjoyable to work with, that you can sit down from across the table, have an honest conversation with them during an interview for maybe 30 to 45 minutes, and you can look this person in the eyes and be like, you know what, I think that you'd be a good fit I think you'd be a good fit from here. I really think that the team would like you. And I think that an important sort of sidebar is, if available, have your team be involved in the interview process in some capacity too as well. And if you're like, oh, well, I don't know about that. You know, Nolan, he can be a little bit harsh when he's meeting with candidates. That's probably the not enjoyable behavior that I'm talking about, right? Because then it's stunting your ability to really display your team and be proud of that. Forgive me for not using a better term, but product, right? Because at the end of the day, your team as a cohesive unit is the product that you're putting out. You're not only putting it out to your clients and to the general public, but you're also more directly, of course, putting it out to the people that are candidates or potential hires for your organization too as well. So looking at your team today, is it something that you could bring in a new candidate that, again, is a superstar, and that you would gladly walk them through the office and be confident in, hey, them seeing that this is a place that they want to be at? So Dave, I know I keep coming through with a lot of passion, so I'll stop there and see.
No, and that's great, and we need to hear that stuff. But you know, and again, we try that around here. You know, we don't have a lot of turnover at the association, but when we do, culture is a big part of that conversation, and so I hear that coming from you as well. But you know, we talk about candidates all the time, and you know, agencies that we work with, and I'm sure you work with. That is more important than the insurance aspect, because most agencies, most producers can teach the insurance, right? You can't teach some of these other skill sets that you know, like reliability and responsibility. So that's good to hear, especially in the world we live in, where unfortunately a lot of organizations right now, with flexibility and movement, right? Everybody's not all together all the time. It's not like the office environment 100%. You got several, like you said, on your team that work remote. You got people that are in the office 1 or 2 days a week, and then you have some that never come in the office, right? And so how do you create that environment, that community, that skill set amongst all of you to get along? Because we're coming at it. It's a different environment. It has been since COVID. I'm tired of saying that word, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit, Nolan, about why it's so important to work with IdealTraits when you're putting stuff out there for candidates to
Yeah.
apply through social media. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So through IdealTraits, what Dave is alluding to there is with one click of a button, your job ad that either we've handcrafted for you or that you've essentially created with our assistants. With one click of the button, it's going to go to Indeed, it's going to go to ZipRecruiter, it's going to go to Google for Jobs, it's going to go to, again, all the places that it needs to go to. And then we can also help you get on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of these different places. So at the end of the day, one of the major benefits that IdealTraits provides to the businesses that we work with is that instead of you having to go to 15 different websites to get your job ad out there, you only have to go to one. Okay. Now, in addition to that, I think that it's pretty simple in terms of the, I suppose, analogy that I could use. The more lines that you have in the water, the better chance you have of catching a fish. So at that point, the more exposure that your job ad receives, the better chance you have of landing the right person. So I encourage you to take a look at your Google reviews because I assure you candidates are looking at it, right? So, maybe some of you are in the situations where you don't really have that many, or maybe you have a ton and maybe it's not the best result, or maybe you have a ton and it's looking really good. So there's a bunch of different situations that you could be in there. But again, I can't stress it enough. You can't isolate yourself. You can't put your eggs all in one basket. To use, I suppose, another phrase there. You can't put and say, all right, well, I'm only going to use ZipRecruiter. I mean, you could essentially, I guess you could do that, but it's going to limit your exposure. It's going to limit the candidates that you see, and it's going to limit your chances of finding the right person. So that's where we help you with that in terms of diversifying where your job ad is seen and where candidates can apply from. It's very, very similar. A lot of the same things that can be applied to recruiting you can take directly from what you generally do with marketing. With marketing, it would be foolish for you to just have a banner ad up on Facebook, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to run commercials and you want to have YouTube ads and you want to be on Instagram and you want to be on really, where all the candidates in this example, where all of the prospects are going to potentially get the highest view rate on your ad. So again, associate the same principles that you would with marketing towards your recruiting. The more eyes that you receive on your marketing, the better off you're going to be. The same holds true for recruiting. And then, of course, at that point, you may run into a situation where it's like, all right, well, I have 50 candidates to go through, and I have a stacked day with several meetings on my calendar. So how am I going to be able to get through these to truly be able to not make a rushed decision, but more of making an educated one, right? So what IdealTraits is probably more famous for, if you will, is our ability to help you screen the candidates. So we use the requirements from your job ad, bounce it off the candidate resume, and then your first view is seeing the candidates that best match what you're looking for. And then we also, of course, have that DISC assessment that gives you insight into the personality. And then we have our video interviewing tool, which helps you understand whether or not this is someone that you think would be an enjoyable person, as I mentioned before, that would be a good fit for your office. So Dave had mentioned culture. That's, to me, another word that's been used a lot, right? And everyone always asks, well, what is culture? Again, to me, to reiterate, culture is if you were to bring somebody into your office today, what are the characteristics that they would take away from that experience? So they would say, like, an example, I suppose, of a good experience would be things like, encouraging, supportive, laid back, right? But then also at the same time, serious. So Dave, hopefully that, again, provides some good information. We're a great resource. Not only can we help you get your job ads out there, but we can also help you understand who's going to be the ones to, as you search through the candidates, the ones that you're going to want to talk to and the ones that you're not going to want to.
And those are great points. And one of the other things, too, I think that IdealTraits does, Nolan, and your team for sure, is number one, screening candidates, right? So you're only bringing the ones that, but providing the tools and resources that IdealTraits does through being more responsive, faster to respond to potential candidates. And a lot of the resources, Nolan, that you all employ is text recruiting, right? Because we all text, and that's really how we communicate. There's a lot of agents on this call buying policies through text with their brokers. So tell us a little bit about how that works and what kind of system that is when you guys deploy texting as part of the strategy to recruit.
Yeah, really good. I mean, texting has become much more popular in the recruiting space. I would also implore you to, as sort of like a sidebar, is don't limit yourself to just texting, right? So you should be texting, calling, and emailing these candidates to get them engaged and to keep them as a part of the process. Here's I guess a nice little statistic that I think Indeed came out with about 2 months ago, and we're lucky enough to be a platinum partner with Indeed, so we get access to their partner exclusive webinars and statistics from their database that really help us further educate you all on making the right hiring decisions and going about your process the right way based off of the data that they see. One of the stats they came to us with is that if you reach out to a candidate within 60 seconds of them applying to your job, the connection percentage is 85%. Okay? If you wait just 15 minutes, your connection percentage goes from 85% all the way down to 35%.
Wow.
So think about that for a second. Now, the next question that you would probably ask is you probably same response as Dave had, which is kind of like a gasp, like, wow, that's crazy. Then your second thought is probably, how am I supposed to reach out to candidates in under 60 seconds? Like, I've got so much stuff to do. And I understand that, which is why within IdealTraits, we have the ability for you to, of course, text the candidates, as Dave had mentioned. We provide you with your own dedicated IdealTraits phone number, too, to sort of cross that off the list to give you some reassurance. This isn't a situation where you have to use your office number or you have to use your personal cell phone. We give you a phone number that's based off of the area code where your office is located. And then at that point, you're freely able to text candidates directly through the system. Now, texting is great. Again, as I mentioned before, you need to be texting, calling, and emailing your candidates. An overwhelming majority, I think it's like 80 to 85% of candidates are applying to their next position on their mobile device. So essentially, the benefit to texting is that when a candidate applies to your job, they're then receiving a text message to you on the same device that they submitted their application from. I promise you, the candidates of today are using their phone more than they're using a computer. So you need to sort of adapt your process to that. So with texting, it's important. You heard that factoid or that statistic with Indeed. If you're not already sold about being faster with your communication, then hey, I don't know much more I can do for you there. But the benefit to IdealTraits and sort of the wrap-up point that I'm going to get to here is that we have created within IdealTraits a way for you to be able to automate this process. So if I could sort of create some imagery here, the way that the process would work is that, let's say an applicant is on Indeed applying to your job. As soon as they submit that application, our system is then going to automatically send a personalized text message from you. And this is a text message that you've created. So you could be like, hey, Nolan, thank you for applying to the Duda Insurance Agency. We really appreciate you submitting your application. Please proceed with the assessment as the next step and call the office if you have any questions. That is the text message that you can create. So then if you receive, again, I'll go back to that round number of 50. If you post a job ad today and receive 50 applications over the weekend, every single one of those candidates is going to receive a text message from you through the system. So again, I get a lot of questions because I do talk quite a lot about needing to invest more into your recruiting process from a time perspective. I'm not here to talk to you about money. I'm here to talk to you specifically right now about time. If you invest more time, then you'll get more out of it. I can assure you of that. What you put into it is what you'll get out of it. Too many people fall short because they just don't dedicate to investing the time. So let me, and I suppose IdealTraits in that aspect, help you by allowing you to invest time, but have that time be well spent. You don't have to sit at your IdealTraits account every second of every day and wait for those applications to roll in. We can build things on the back end to have best of both worlds, to where you're able to adapt to those statistics that I just mentioned. If it didn't click that you need to be fast, I can say it again. 60 seconds, 85% connection rate. If you wait just 15 minutes, it goes down to 35. So you need to be fast, and we want to help you be fast, which is why the texting is huge, because again, a lot of candidates are applying on their mobile device, and then also having us be able to automate that process for you is going to be huge towards, again, just giving you more options to choose from when it comes to time to make a hiring decision.
Yeah, and Nolan, you talk about time, you talk about speed, but these are busy agent owners, right? You deal with a lot of them. They got a lot going on in the operation, and so, but IdealTraits has a system, no time to call candidates, right? And you all have the ability to deploy a virtual hiring assistance. Tell us a little bit about that program.
Yeah, happy to. So the way that this process works is, if you're sort of listening to this now, and you'd be like, all right, well, the automation sounds great, but then I still have to call and email the candidates, and I don't feel as if I have time to do that even still. I think that that's an important realization for you to come to. As I had mentioned before, you need to plan this out, right? So if as a part of your planning, you're sort of listening to me here and you're like, okay, cool, I want to follow Nolan's recommendations, but I just don't have the time to invest into it. Or the other angle is that you just simply don't want to do it, which again is completely reasonable too, because hiring is hard and it can be quite a nuisance. This is where our virtual hiring assistant team comes in. So it is an add-on service to IdealTraits. So of course, just to be transparent, it does of course cost more, right? Because we have people who are calling your candidates for you, essentially. So what will happen is we'll create the job ads for you. You'll be assigned a dedicated account manager. It'll either be Faith or Keegan. At that point, either Faith or Keegan will meet with you weekly, and then they will completely review your account and send you updates throughout that week. Now, that's what they're doing. On the back end of that, once you have a job ad posted, let's say today, and let's say over the weekend, let's use that as an example, right? So you post the job today, and on Saturday and Sunday, you have received 50 candidates. I'll go back to that round number. What's going to happen over the weekend is our team is going to call, email, and text your candidates to get them to complete an assessment, and then to get them to complete an interview, a video interview as it is. So then by the time that you get back to your office on Monday, candidates have already completed their application, their assessment, and their video interview. So then when you get back in, all you do is log into your account, happy to have our team review it with you, and then you have candidates who have a completed profile that you can review. Then it's much easier for you to be able to make that decision. So our two goals with this plan, as a sort of an extension to a normal IdealTraits account, is to put time back on your plate that maybe you don't have to invest into recruiting, and then to also eliminate a lot of the nuance that comes with hiring. Because again, I'm telling you, you got to be calling, emailing, and texting. You can use virtual hiring assistant or you cannot. Those things still hold to be the same. You have to be fast, and you have to communicate with these candidates, and you have to meet them where they're at. So, that program has been a huge difference maker for agencies across the country, because it really is the middle ground between you using a recruiter or you doing this process by yourself. Because we're not qualifying the candidates for you. We're just getting them to complete all the information, so then you have a completed product to review to simply make a more educated decision. So again, it's a great program. It certainly isn't for everyone, but if you feel as if you don't have the time to invest into a lot of these strategies we've talked about, or you don't feel like you want to really do a lot of the nuance that comes with hiring, then that program is for you. So either way, there's an opportunity for IdealTraits to help you. It's just a matter about reaching out and seeing how we're able to do that for you. And again, what you're looking for is different than what I'm looking for, as sort of an example. So allowing us to sort of have that unique consultation, if you will, with you, allows us to truly guide you to what package is going to be best for you too.
I'm curious, Nolan, with the use of that program, the hiring process, how has that changed? If I just go out and put something on the web, and I get some people responding, and then I get back to them, like you say, and It's not in 60 seconds. It's in 60 minutes or 60 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
What does the hiring process look like now in today's environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks a lot sort of like what you'd expect. So I've talked a lot about speed, so you need to be fast, but then it also looks like clear communication. So in this, we talked a lot at the beginning about statistics. So no surprise, the state of Florida for the insurance market, the market has grown faster than what I suppose the talent aspect has been able to keep up with. So at that point, it's incredibly important for you to be transparent with the candidates too as well, and understanding the reality that when they load up Indeed or ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn and they pull up, insurance sales in the state of Florida or in your respective county or town or whatever you want to point to, they have several different options, right? So understanding that they have different options, understanding that you have your offering and that you're not looking to necessarily compromise on that. It's important to be a little bit flexible. But again, you have your offering, you know what you can afford, you know what you can invest into the process. I'm not asking you to stretch yourself thin. And then just being clear with that expectation. So candidates can be completely reasonable when they're met with sort of just that upfront, transparent information. So giving that information to them, being open to having just an honest conversation. And then in terms of how the process has changed, you don't want to have all these overwhelming amount of steps, right? A personality assessment is very reasonable. A video interview is very reasonable. But then you don't want to have this long, drawn-out process that proceeds over the next month. It should be maybe 1 or 2 interviews after that, maybe 1 interview with you, and then maybe another interview where they have an opportunity to meet your team. Again, that's sort of a recommendation I may make. It's not necessarily something that you have to do. But again, I think the point of the nature is that this is going to be your process. So build it with what you believe is going to be the best situation for you and own it. Because when you own it, then the candidates will be able to see that. They'll see the confidence, they'll see the established nature of the process, and they will respect it. There is nothing better than a professional, I suppose, interview process in total, or recruiting process rather. So then when you have your ducks in a row and you're able to stick to that plan and you're able to be transparent and confident in it, candidates will feel that confidence. And in turn, they will say, you know what, I can feel this confidence. Like, this is something that I can get behind in an organization that I feel as if that I can grow within. That's what we're looking to protrude, right? So no matter what you need to do, if you need to put a plan in place or if you're ready to execute on that plan, again, we can help you talk through those things and work through those things to get you to a point to where, if anything, you're feeling confident in where you're leaving this. Because if ultimately you don't feel confident in the process, then it's probably not going to work out. So don't stretch yourself thin, know your limitations, and be transparent about your expectations, and don't draw out the recruiting process.
And that's a great point. You talk about the interview, you talk about the speed, and don't just have it unended. But I'm curious. I've heard from a handful of agents probably in the last 6 months where they're bringing prospective candidates in for job shadowing. What are you hearing about that as you deal with agencies about job shadowing, and does that kind of change the nature of these interviews?
I mean, I love that strategy. I love that strategy because, again, if I go back to the point that I just made, that shows agents that are confident in the plan that they have and the system that they built, right?
Okay.
Like, to the point where they will bring someone into their office and they are confident that the product that they are going to display, whether it's from their systems or from their team, is something that they can be proud of and are happy to give people, I suppose, a sneak peek of. Now, I think that you're going to see this more because as we evolve to sort of the insurance market, of how it's becoming more of a popular thing for agencies to hire on people that don't necessarily have a license, that are more inexperienced. What you're looking to do here with that strategy is you're looking to say, hey, I'm putting all my cards on the table. I want you to come job shadow and see if it's for you. And ultimately, a reality that's important to know from this is that you're certainly going to get candidates who have discovered from this that it's not for them.
Yep.
And that could be frustrating in itself, right? Because you've already invested a lot of time, money, and resources into the process to get this candidate to a point to where they're job shadowing with you. So again, understand that I'm not naive to the fact that it can be frustrating when this takes place, especially when someone's like, yeah, this isn't for me. I promise you, though, that is a good thing for you because, again, like self-explanatory at this point. But the last thing you would want to do is not job shadow, hire this person, and then 2 weeks in, they just stop showing up to work, which for some reason is becoming a popular thing for candidates to do because at that point they realize it's not for them.
Yep.
So if they don't have experience in the industry, I highly recommend it. I think it's a really good thing to do. Of course, it's going to put you in a situation where you might lose some people, but again, I would encourage you to seek that out as a good thing. And then in addition to that too as well, I wouldn't necessarily be closed off to it for someone who's experienced because again, your office is a unique culture or a unique experience. So then allowing them to sort of see the difference from maybe what they've experienced before will obviously give you immediate insight into whether it's what they're looking for or whether it's not. And then in addition to that too as well, this job shadowing provides a unique level of insight into you being able to also see, if we focus now on the business owner perspective, you being able to see whether or not this candidate is right for you. Not
Yep.
necessarily does the candidate feel that they would be a good fit for your environment. But then in addition to that too, like you're able to see, all right, cool, does this person quite frankly have all their stuff together or do they not, right? Because if somebody comes into your office and sort of creates a void right from the get-go and isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, you're going to be able to identify that pretty quickly on. So I love that strategy. I think that it's important to, again, make sure that you have your ducks in a row before you do that. But again, I've probably talked to thousands of insurance agencies. You all have awesome businesses that have one of my favorite things about just the independent insurance agency space in general is the stories that can come along with how your business is where it's at today. Whether you've been in business for 100 years or maybe it's 5, both of those stories are super cool, and they will attract the right candidate when you talk about them more because they can relate to you in some capacities if they have, of course, aspirations to be a business owner. But then, of course, if you find people that are motivated and want to come to work, they're going to relate to the hustle that it's taken to get to where you're at today. So understand that for all of you listening too, like I have the utmost admiration for you too, because operating a business is incredibly stressful and incredibly risky. And I understand what comes with that, and hiring and bringing new people into your organization is also an added risk. But when done again correctly and done with the proper steps that we of course again can help you with, it can be so rewarding, right? So
Yep.
yeah, hopefully that helps.
Well, that does, and I will tell you, as we were going through some of our discussions over the last year with the board about workforce and supporting different initiatives, we had a board member in here, and we were talking about spending the time, as you said, and being deliberate on the hiring process, because if you miss, at least for his agency, and he's in Southwest Florida, it was a $20,000 miss all in, right? From recruiting to payroll to training. And so being more deliberate on the front end, as you said, and potentially job shadowing or something will make it a better process, and hopefully that person will stick, right? Because if you're talking about the dollars spending, whether it's with Ideal Traits, but all the other aspects, people's time, right, Nolan? I mean, people's time is valuable, and so when you're talking about a miss on a potential candidate, it can set you back even more so, for the next one and the next one and the next one until you finally refine your process to make it better, that you find the right candidate at the right time. So certainly those are great points to make. I'm just curious, how have you heard, because certainly we talk about it around here, AI, right, is something that we deploy here at the association as a tool to help
Yes,
all
sir.
of us be better at our jobs, be better time managers. What do you hear regarding AI disruption in the independent agent world?
Yeah, I mean, there's just like anything, to no one's surprise, there's pros and cons, right? So there are concerns. I don't necessarily label these as cons. I should backstep on that, but I want to provide you with the information, and then you can sort of determine where it stands for those of you listening. So the sort of information that's out there, sort of the concern with maybe using AI in as a part of your process, which I'll start with the concern and then get to the good. The concern is that when you over automate your process, it makes it to, I guess, it takes the human element out of it, which is going to be unattractive to people, because what remains the same within recruiting is that it's people working with people. So then at the end of the day, if someone is deciding their next place to grow a career or to work, I assure you that a part of what they're looking for is to talk to the person that is going to be managing them, is going to be talking to the people that they, of course, are going to be working with day in and day out, something that we've talked a great deal about. But when you over automate your process, it runs the risk of just making your process less people friendly, which is going to be a turnoff to a lot of candidates. So it's sort of up to all of us to find a way to balance it. And yeah, I mean it when I say us, right? Because we're a facilitator of a lot of this technology, and are oftentimes can be the creator of a new tool. But then in addition to that too as well, we're putting it in your hands, and then of course you're also using it. So the pros though are super great, right? Because you're able to do things like I talked about earlier, where you're able to automate those text messages that go out initially, and you're able to build your process around what's really necessary in order to help you succeed in today's recruiting atmosphere. You're able to quickly identify sort of the traits that you want to see within a candidate, but then in addition to that, you're also able to quickly sort through their resume, get through the fluff to be able to identify the key requirements and key things that they have that makes them a stand-up candidate or a standout candidate for you. So the technology is only as good as the person who's typically using it. So that's why, again, not to sort of sound like I'm giving a pitch here, that's why using Ideal Traits is a benefit to you, because we've designed these tools and have put them into the platform to be, foolproof, right? Like they are there to help you guide through your process. They have limitations that we built within them to not make the process get carried away or to completely remove the human element from it. But again, recruiting is people working with people. It's the same thing that, I suppose you all would do in your day-to-day with your client list, where you have your team working with, again, people. And it's the same thing. Like if you were to call a business and you just have to continue to go through their phone tree and it's just an automated phone tree, that's an incredibly frustrating process. So if you sort of think about how you feel about when you're going through that, and you understand that you never want to sort of make a candidate feel that way, that is generally how I recommend to use AI within your process. But when it comes to creating job ads, identifying top candidates, automating communication, we can certainly help you with that. And you certainly still need to be involved in your process in some capacity, which is why our virtual hiring assistant program is such a great addition to maybe your stack of resources, because you still have a human being who is calling the candidates for you. It's just not necessarily you, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
Dave,
yeah.
sorry, I kind of gave a roundabout answer there, guys, and sorry if that's not sort of the best answer directionally, right? Because I don't necessarily
Well,
know if you leave this with going
I,
anywhere particular, but
I will
yeah.
say, my friend, and we will say this till everybody is no longer an insurance professional. This is still a relationship business. And the last time I checked, you can't have a relationship with your computer. So it
Amen.
is still people to
Yep.
people. It is staff member to staff member. It is customer to customer. Yes, can there be some efficiencies from an AI resource and tool? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we all know, especially here in Florida, um, that customers want to talk to an independent agent before they decide on what coverage, what resources that they want to deploy or anything like that when it comes to risk, especially, again, in Florida. Can't speak for other states, but in Florida, that is the overwhelming response we get from consumers, that they want to talk to an agent before they make their buying decision. So I think, again, AI is there. It's a tool, it's a resource, it's a helpful hand, but it's not what most people are looking for in the insurance transaction. So you see Nolan's information on the screen, certainly on our website under FMS. They're listed there as well to get more information on their services and certainly costs associated with that. This is always a great conversation because, again, this is one of the top three, and I just blogged on this, one of the top three questions and conversations we have here at the association about workforce, staffing, and some of the trials and tribulations of the hiring process. So IdealTraits is a partner. They're trusted. They've been vetted by many of our members that use their services. So please, please, if you're looking for candidates, you're looking for an option, at least have the conversations with the folks from IdealTraits, and they will be able to help you. Can we set and consult Florida-based IdealTraits rep to figure out how to start the process? Misty, we will have them reach out to you. So Nolan, we have somebody that one of your folks, and I'll send that information to you, Nolan, and one of your team members can reach out to Misty. So,
Yeah.
But yes, this is again a great conversation because it's an ongoing conversation, right, Nolan? I mean, this is something that you hear, we hear, and certainly our members hear about. How are we going to continue to grow our agency from a staffing perspective as the number of people are exiting, right?
Exactly, right. I mean, again, it's been about an hour now, and a ton of you have stuck on for this whole hour, which, again, I'm incredibly thankful for and grateful for that. Obviously, Dave, for you and the FAI having me on here, and allowing me to sort of speak on this topic. And again, it's something that I've dedicated a lot of time to day in and day out the last 7 years, and I want to help you, and my team wants to help you too. So I promise you, if it's signing up for our services, great. If it's just exploring maybe some strategy, great. Like we're here to help you. So anything that you need, please reach out and be proactive with that. My email's right there. And then of course, Dave, Misty will reach out to you. But it's an ongoing conversation. It's always changing. So it's important for us to stay on top of it. The only way that you're able to stay on top of it is that you build a long-term recruiting strategy that works for you and that you stay involved. So again, that's one of the things that we're looking to accomplish for you. Solve the short-term need, help you build a long-term strategy. So Dave is absolutely correct. It's always changing. And when we come back, whether it's a couple months later or maybe next year sometime, there'll be some new hot topics for us to discuss, right? So again, I'm incredibly appreciative to be able to be here, and for all of you for taking time out of your Friday morning. We talked a lot about time. So I understand how even just the hour that you've spent with us here today is oftentimes something that might cause a disruption in your calendar. So I appreciate you for allowing yourself to be here and to listen and to hopefully maybe learn a thing or two. And I look forward to working with y'all individually too as well to further that. So can't thank you enough, Dave. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, my friend. We'll see you in less than 60 days, believe it or not, in Orlando. And certainly members can come by and talk to Nolan one-on-one as well, and some of his team members. But again, thank you for attending Friday Morning Live. We do record this, so it'll be up on the website if you want to share with your team or listen to some of the comments that Nolan made about the recruiting process. Certainly encourage that. But have a great weekend, folks. Stay safe out there. I know there's some fires in and around North Florida and kind of the Daytona, Clay County area. So be careful out there if you're experiencing some smoke from those fires. So be safe, and we'll see you next Friday on Friday Morning Live. Take care.